guys, CommonSensei here, and welcome back to another episode of the I'm Just Saying video podcast, where I serve as your tour guide through this minefield of liberal idiocy, ridiculousness, and stupidity. A lot's happened since my last post. Apparently, Hunter Biden is the new Picasso. CPAC went down, and there's quite a bit of good stuff that came out from that. The Defund the Police movement is an absolute disaster. Cuba's in complete disarray. We've got a lot to talk about. Don't have a whole lot of time to do it, so guess what? Get that Black Rifle coffee ready. Oh yeah. And let's get it on. Now, from the category of that is a bunch of BS, but actually true, comes a story about Hunter Biden, who has now apparently become the Picasso of modern day. Now, here's the thing. A little bit of background on good old Hunter. Hunter went to law school, became a lawyer, served in the Navy, got kicked out for doing a little bit of nose candy, if you know what I mean. And then after he was disgraced, became an attorney out in the private sector, and he went into some other business dealings, which we'll get into in a little bit. But now, apparently, he has an affinity for fine art. Not buying it, making it. That's correct, making fine art. And he's getting ready to sell that fine art at an art display in a gallery, and it seems as though some of his artwork is going to go for upwards of around $500,000. That's right, $500,000. That's $500,000. Who knew that he would have all the time to practice art while he was busy smoking crack in some hotel room doing a little bit of blow off a hooker's back? So weird, right? Wait a minute. I think I just figured it out. He must have had the time to study art when he was working for Burisma, which was a crooked energy company that was under investigation by the Ukrainian government, particularly the Attorney General of Ukraine, when he was working as a consultant for them, even though he had zero background and zero experience in energy. Ah, that must be how he afforded to pay for his art education. His degree in art must have come from all the millions of dollars that he got from Burisma for doing absolutely nothing. Or maybe it was all the time that he spent with the Chinese while his dad was vice president of the United States when he flew on Air Force Two. For some unknown reason, he went to China with his dad. I don't know, maybe it was a father-son trip, bring your kid to work day. I'm not really sure. But while he was there, that must be when he had the time to, discover art and become good enough to sell his artwork for $500,000 a piece. Now, if that wasn't a head-scratcher enough, it gets even better. Apparently, the White House brokered a deal with the Los Angeles Art Gallery that's going to be selling Hunter Biden's art, in which they assure us that all buyers are going to be confidential, and that way, there will be no impropriety and no perception that something a little hanky's going on. In fact, the press secretary for the White House, Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, said that, you know what? We want to make sure that there's nothing corrupt going on, and that's why we're going to keep all the buyers absolutely anonymous. Bullshit. All right, bear with me. Is it possible, and I know I'm going to be called a conspiracy theory for this, I don't have my tinfoil hat on, so just kind of play along here. Is it possible that Hunter Biden might be selling access to his dad by selling art? Hey, you buy my art for $500,000 and guess what? You get an audience with the old man here. Now, albeit that audience, he's probably not going to know what he's saying, but he might be able to sign some stuff from you. Because pretty much he'll sign anything we put in front of him. I just realized that the woman in that clip looks like Jill Biden. I'm just saying. Now, all joking aside, let's be honest about something. Does anybody think that Hunter Biden is actually selling this art as art? And that he's not selling it to give exclusive access to confidential buyers exclusive access to his dad. Okay, so Joe Biden previously said that he never talked to Hunter Biden about any of his Burisma dealings, any of the Chinese dealings. And now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes Hunter Biden, the artist, who just happens to become one of the most successful artists in the world, selling pieces of art for $500,000 a piece. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. And I'm not buying it when Joe Biden said he never had a conversation with Hunter about any of his business dealings. We have indisputable proof. Emails, text messages, photographs, all kinds of stuff that came from Hunter Biden's laptop and also came from other sources. But we're supposed to believe that none of this is, just a little bit suspicious. Really? Come on, man.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Okay, moving on. CPAC occurred this weekend. If you don't know what CPAC is, it's the Conservative Political Action Conference. And basically what that is conservatives from all over the country, really all over the world, get together and they talk about the issues that directly affect us. Okay, so the reason that I bring this up is because President Trump gave a speech at CPAC. It was a little bit over 45 minutes, but it was very, very impactful. And he brought up some of the things that were great that happened over the last 4 years, or at least during his administration. And one of the things he talked about is some of these ridiculous deals that politicians have gotten us into throughout the world that he kind of got us out of. And some of those, obviously, are starting to come back now that the Biden administration is caving to all the special interest groups. One of the things that he talked about was, let's see, I've got to be careful how I say this, because last time I used this terminology, I got taken down. Okay, so one of my favorite bands in the world is The Who. Great band. There's also another organization out there with the same name. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Okay, so that organization, we used to pay into that organization. And one of the things that President Trump brought up is how much we used to pay. We used to pay $500 million a year. $500 million, okay? Now, our nation has about 328 million people in this country, and we were paying $500 million a year to be part of this organization. The crazy thing is we have no say-so when it comes to decisions made by this organization. You know who does? China. That's right. Now, China has 1.4 billion people in their nation, right? Here's the thing. You know how much they pay to be part of that organization? That's right. $39 million. $39 million. So why is it that China only pays $39 million, but we had to pay $500 million? And we get no say-so in what that organization does. Here's the thing. So President Trump drew us out of that organization, which rhymes with boo, or shoe, or clue. You understand where I'm going with this. Anyways, he pulls us out, and then we end up not paying that $500 million, which is pretty good because we didn't have any say-so anyway. Guess what? The Biden administration just put us back in there, so we're going to be paying between $450 to $500 million every year again to absolutely have zero control in an organization that does zero for the United States. So before President Trump even got elected back in 2016, one of the great brainiac moves that the Obama-Biden administration did was they entered into the Iran nuclear deal. And I know what people are saying. Hey, we don't want them to get a nuclear weapon. And you're right. The problem is, did we do? We paid them in order to not enrich uranium and make a nuclear bomb. And guess how much we gave them? That's right, $150 billion. That's with a B, in the middle of the night, on cargo planes, on pallets, in cash. Where do you think that money went? I don't know. Where do you think Hezbollah got all those rockets and missiles from that they've been firing into Israel lately? Now, fortunately, President Trump took us out of that ridiculous deal in which we were paying billions of dollars to Iran, who happens to be a state sponsor of terrorism, not to enrich uranium in order to make a nuclear weapon. Here's the thing. Now the Biden administration wants to enter back into that deal, in which they think, for some reason, that we can pay Iran and coerce them into not making a nuclear weapon by giving them billions of dollars, which essentially will do nothing more than finance the enrichment of uranium to make a nuclear weapon. Are you following me so far? Here's the thing. I'm going to give you a little bit of a metaphor, okay? So if kids are watching, you may want to plug your ears for a second. Here's the thing. Generally, a person doesn't put a condom on unless they're going to have sex. Also, generally, a nation such as Iran doesn't enrich uranium unless they're going to make a bomb. Either way, we're fucked. Tyranny, totalitarianism, say that word 5 times really quick. Communism, Marxism, and socialism don't work. If socialism is so frickin' awesome, then why does it fail so frickin' all the time, right? It's never worked anywhere. Look at Cuba right now. Communist country, right? Marxist country. Guess what? There's people in the streets right now because they're in absolute economic mayhem. Now, let me pause here for a moment, and some people are going to say, well, you know what? The reason they're in economic mayhem is because the United States put sanctions on them. Well, the reason we put sanctions on them is because after Fidel Castro took over and started murdering people and throwing political dissidents in prison just for, doing what we can do, exercise our First Amendment rights, our nation decided that we weren't going to support that kind of behavior. And guess what? We haven't supported it ever since. Wait a minute. Yes, we did. During the Obama administration. That's right. When Obama tried to normalize relations with the Castro regime. Now, why do you think a lot of Cubans come to the United States? I mean, it certainly isn't because we're, oppressive. It certainly isn't because we're racist, even though the left would have you believe that, right? That's not why they come here. They come here because socialism and communism doesn't work. And you know why it doesn't work? Because it's inherent in people's nature to want to do the best that they can, to provide for their families, to be able to work and get the fruits of their labor, to be able to better their circumstances. That's why. And guess what? Countries like Cuba don't allow it. Countries like China don't allow it, unless you're part of the Communist Party. The vast majority of Cubans are in absolute poverty, and now they're starting to demonstrate in the streets. Pretty soon, it's going to turn into riots. But the left wants to bring that kind of stuff here. In fact, it's already started here. Where do you think all these riots came from? Where do you think the looting came from? And I know people are going to say, well, you know what, it's about justice, man. George Floyd and police, brutality. Let me tell you something. It's not about justice. It was never about justice, okay? People don't loot stores because they want justice. It's an excuse. It's a catalyst for unrest. So we are supposed to be a nation of laws. We are supposed to be a nation in which the rule of law reigns supreme here. But the left doesn't want that. And the reason the left doesn't want that is because as they pit us against each other, then they get to do the stuff behind the scenes. And we don't notice it. In fact, we don't see it at all. And that's exactly what's going on right now. You look at the Defund the Police movement. It's ridiculous, okay? How did that work out? It's an absolute disaster. Crime is up exponentially in just about every major city in the United States. And here's the thing about it. Now it's funny because now the left is saying, well, Republicans are the ones that wanted to defund the police. That's right. They're the ones that were pressing for it. And now this is how dumb they think the United States citizens are. Now they want us to believe that the Republicans are the one who wanted to defund the police and they're all about justice and doing the right thing. Now the left will have you believe that gun control is the answer to all our problems, at least as far as crime is concerned. But let's look at something really quick. In all these major cities with these serious upticks in crime, what do you think the commonality is here? I even said it in my last post and maybe even the one before that. That's right, they're run by liberals. Let's look at some numbers here. In comparison to this time last year, look at the crime surges in U.S. cities, okay? Atlanta, New York City, Portland, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, just a small sample. They're all up in homicides and shootings. Atlanta, 45% more murders. New York City, 9% more murders. Portland, 533% more murders than this time last year. Los Angeles, 25% it's up. Philadelphia, it's up 34%. And the shootings are no different. 41, 38, 126%, 48%, and 32% respectively. Now, what do you think all these have in common? Two things. Number one, they're run by liberals. Number two, these cities, particularly New York City, Portland, Los Angeles, and the one that wasn't on there, Chicago, they have the most stringent gun laws in the country. You think it's stopping crime? No, it's not stopping crime. When you allow law and order to not be the priority anymore, when you allow people to run amok, when you allow anarchists, Antifa, and all these people that are causing hate and discontent, burning buildings, stealing shit, when you allow them to do this kind of stuff, you're not doing anything more than tearing down the very civilization that we've built. It is long past time to hold criminals responsible for their actions. Not blame it on society, not blame it on race, not blame it on people that existed 240, 250, 150 years ago. This has nothing to do with race, gender, religion. This has to do with accountability. And you want to talk about accountability? Take a look at this. Harris County, which is the county that Houston, Texas is in, 231 deaths were linked to criminals that were out on bond. Because we're more worried about what the criminals feel. We're more worried about whether or not they're getting their feelings hurt, as opposed to holding them responsible. So we let them out on bond, and guess what? They killed people. Now, certainly, this is from 2013 to 2020. That's a 7-year span. You know what the average there is? That's 33 killings a year. 33! 33 killings a year. Defunding the police is not going to solve the problem, okay? Getting rid of bail or bond is not going to solve the problem. It's going to make the problem much worse, and it's already started. Folks, it hasn't even been 6 months yet, and things are already starting to fall apart at the seams. And I'm talking about very quickly. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Now, I asked you this question once before, and the question still remains. Are we better off now, 6 months into this administration, than we were a year ago? I don't think so. Did you know in 2019 the average price of gas was $2.60 in the U.S.? $2.60. You know what it was in 2020? $2.17. It actually was going down. Then the election happened. Then Biden got put in office. And you know what it is now? The average price of gas right now is $3.14 across the United States. Literally 1 week ago, it was $3.13. 1 month ago, it was $3.07. It keeps going up and up and up and up. We were energy independent. We were actually exporting to other countries for the first time. Now, let me tell you something, folks. It's really funny how people are, electric cars. When you plug in an electric car, where do you think the power comes in order to charge the battery? Not windmills. Usually not solar. Most of it comes from coal-fired plants. We're paying more for gas, and I know some people might say, well, okay, I'm paying $1 more for gas than I was a year ago. Big deal. Not only are you paying more for gas, but guess what? Companies have to pay more to ship products through airplanes, through trucks. Trucking has gone up. Here's the other thing that's happening right now. With all the unemployment benefits and the welfare state, guess what? People aren't going back to work. And we don't have a high unemployment rate right now because there's no jobs. We have a high unemployment rate because the federal government is incentivizing people not to go to work by paying them money for doing absolutely squat. Meanwhile, the price of goods is going through the roof because A, there's not enough people, B, the price of fuel has gone way up. So yeah, it's $1 a gallon for you and for me, but it's affecting you in the pocketbook more than you realize. Look at the price of groceries, milk, eggs, vegetables, meat. It's all gone up exponentially. And if you think that's not going to continue, you're absolutely wrong. Here's the thing. We're looking at 2024. And here's a funny statistic for you. At CPAC, they did a straw poll. And that straw poll was based on the front runners on the Republican ticket for conservatives, okay? For those that would be running for president of the United States, they casted ballots. Guess what the results were? Before I tell you, just know that back in February, there was another CPAC in Orlando, Florida. President Trump garnered 55% of the vote, which is pretty awesome, right? 55%, I'd take that any day. Guess what it is now? 70%. 70% of the ballots cast were for Donald Trump. 21%, and this was number 2, was Governor Ron DeSantis out of Florida. Great conservative, fantastic guy. Here's my thing. What a great 2024 ticket. Trump and DeSantis. Oh my God, forget about it. But here's the thing. None of that's ever going to matter if 2022, during the midterm elections, we don't retake the Senate. We need to retake it in a big way. The other thing we need to do is we need to retake the House, where 2024 is not going to matter. I keep preaching this. I keep saying it. Let me tell you something. Marxism, socialism, and communism is on the march in this country. AOC, Omar, Tlaib. I'm telling you, the squad, they would love nothing more than to see this country crumble. And here's the thing, folks. We've been around a little over 240 years. Every empire falls. Now, I'm not saying we're an empire, but what I am saying is the empires that were a heck of a lot stronger in their day, they fell. The Byzantines fell. The Greeks fell. The Persians fell. The Romans fell. Even the English. The British Empire fell. Now, we're not an empire. We're a constitutional republic. But if we think that in our infancy that we're absolutely immune to the things that have happened in the past, we're not. 2022 is the alligator closest to the boat. You have to get out there. You have to educate people. And we have to retake Congress, or it's going to be all for naught. And I'm afraid that if during the midterms we don't see some massive changes, the Republic may not survive. I hope I'm wrong. But you know what? Let's not test it. Get out there. Do the right thing. Because we, the people, have a choice on whether or not the Republic continues or whether or not we become just another socialistic country. It's up to us. I want to thank you for bearing with me. This was a long episode, absolutely. But I think what we're talking about is 100% important and 100% essential. I'm the CommonSensei, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of the I'm Just Saying video podcast. We'll check you next time.